people today. They could spend half their lives over 50. That's a lot of living. So it helps to have a wise friend and fierce defender in your corner. A friend like AARP. So your health lives longer.
This is just slow-mo karate?
Just slow-mo karate.
Your money lives longer.
I just bought that.
I just sold that.
And your happiness lives longer. That's why the younger you are, the more you need AARP. Join today.
Welcome to AARP Illinois' virtual event. It's so wonderful to have you with us. AARP is on a mission to connect with individuals across various communities, especially those aged 50 and above. We're here to listen, understand, and address the unique needs of you and your community as we age. Our goal is to enrich your experience by expanding our local activities, providing opportunities for you to discover and engage with all that life has to offer right here in your own community and virtually. As we journey through today's event, we invite you to consider joining our dedicated team of AARP volunteers. It's a chance to make a meaningful impact and help us better serve those 50 plus across the nation. Connect with us and be a part of this vibrant movement toward positive change. Welcome, and let's make this event both fun and transformative.
Welcome to Long-Term Care Legal Guide, Navigating the Essentials with Confidence. I'm Lori Hendren, Senior Associate State Director with AARP Illinois, and I'm very glad to have you joining us today. Today we'll be diving into the legal side of long-term care and helping you understand the essential steps needed to navigate this very complex landscape with clarity and confidence. To shed light on today's topic, we are privileged to have our special guest, Steve Andersson, an elder law attorney licensed in Illinois and also a contractual lobbyist for AARP Illinois. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Lori. It's a pleasure to be here, like always.
Thank you. So if you've been with us before, we do this every month, and we remind you on Facebook and YouTube viewers that we're here for you. So please put your questions and comments in the feed, and our producer behind the scenes will make sure it's elevated to us. Our goal is to try to address as many of your questions and comments as possible during our conversation. And remember, today's questions cover a broad range of topics that serve as a starting point for discussions, planning, and consultation with your family and professional advisors in elder law, financial planning, and healthcare. But please keep in mind the specifics of elder law may vary by jurisdiction. So consult with your elder law attorney, your tax attorney, or financial advisor is highly advisable for personalized guidance. So I'm going to turn this over to Steve for your welcoming and opening comments. Steve.
Thank you so much, Lori. And that's right. This is not the practice of law here on the YouTube. We can't do that because all of your specific nuances, your specific circumstances will vary. It's not may vary, they will vary. So you need to talk to competent counsel or financial planner or both, tax planners too, as needed to be able to get good advice. This is an overview only. So that's number one. Number two, and I think this is most important, is I like to say at the beginning of these topics, it's gonna be okay, all right? Because so often attorneys, financial planners will tell you horror stories. They will tell you how bad it will be if you don't do everything that they recommend you do. I think it's the opposite. I think generally our laws in the state and all of the states are designed for what someone might consider the default situation. So kind of your typical family with some kids, you know, that sort of thing, even second marriages. All of that is generally designed pretty well. But that doesn't mean that you should just say, oh, well, then I don't have to do anything. No, listen to this show, listen to your financial planners, your legal counsel, because you can do better than okay. But I want to assure you that generally speaking, you're going to be okay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And again, that's Steve Andersson. He is an Illinois licensed elder law attorney, and he's also a contractual lobbyist with AARP. We want all of you that are listening to put your questions and comments in the feed so we can elevate them to Steve to get some conversation going. So let's start. The basics that we talk about a lot. What are the essential legal documents basically every adult 50 or older should have in place to prepare for their long-term care needs?
Sure. And before I even answer that one, I want to double down on what you said, Lori. Please ask questions. Doesn't matter is just ask the questions. This is much more fun if you guys ask questions. So please
Mhm.
don't hesitate. So what are the basic documents, basic elements to protect yourself? Those are, number one, a power of attorney for healthcare, power of attorney for property. Those will, depending on the state, be called different things, but the concept is the same. Also, a will is usually a good idea, but not absolutely required. But if you care about where your assets go upon your death, it is very important because then you get to specify where things go. Other ideas or concepts is you can also have a trust. A lot of people will be told, oh, I need a trust. Well, you don't need one, but sometimes, depending on your circumstances, and we'll probably get into it a little bit, it can be better to have one than not. But I would say out of all of the potential documents that you could prepare or have prepared for you, the powers of attorney are the most important because those put someone in charge when you can't make your own decisions for yourself. And that is critical on long-term care planning, absolutely essential.
Okay, so you brought up the idea of power of attorney and then power of attorney for healthcare, and there's a power of attorney for property. Why do those matter, and what's the difference in simplest terms?
Absolutely. So in simpler terms, they pick a person or people, rank ordered, that you say, I want this person to decide my affairs when I can't anymore. So the distinction between the power of attorney for property and the power of attorney for healthcare is the property one means whoever you pick for that one gets to decide all your financial stuff. It does not mean just property like your house. Property is everything financial. It's your bank accounts, your IRAs, your investments, your jewelry, anything that has value. They have power over for your best interest. The healthcare power of attorney is simpler. It does what it sounds like it does. Those people are required to, in your best interest, decide what to do for your healthcare. Now, in both cases, it's what you want to have happen. And that's why it's so important to pick a person. There are other documents that you can fill out, like a living will, that you can say, this is what I want to have happen in the event I need life-sustaining treatment. Those are fine. But in my opinion, if you have somebody that you really trust that will know your issues and how you might want things to happen, it's better to pick a power of attorney because in that case, those people then can fulfill your wishes, even if the circumstance is not what you expected. They can still try to employ their tools, their abilities to determine what you wanted. So,
Okay.
and one other thing, Lori,
Mhm.
in Illinois, they're called durable powers of attorney for healthcare, durable power of attorney for property. But in other states, they could be merged into one. They could be different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's why we always emphasize that you speak from the background licenses in Illinois, but make sure you reach out to, even if it's your AARP in your state or your your Department on Aging, somewhere to be able to find this information, or an attorney licensed in the state for that distinction. So we do have a question from YouTube. Question is, I've heard that a bank or a hospital will only accept their version of a power of attorney. Can they do that if I have my own already?
So that does happen, unfortunately, and it is plainly illegal. They cannot pick and choose that, oh, you didn't fill out the form, that we like.
Mhm.
If it's legal in the state you created it in, okay. So let's say you created one in Illinois under Illinois law, and it's valid. It's valid in all the other 49 other states too, because we have reciprocity with the other states. So they have to respect it. Now, telling you that and then listening to me are two different things. So it can be difficult, and that can be at a very emotional time, but I assure you it's real. Your power of attorney, if it's lawfully enacted, wherever you were, should be accepted no matter what. If you have a problem with that and become serious, that's the time to call an attorney in your jurisdiction, in your state. and tell them the problem, and they can act quickly and might be able to remedy that situation with the hospital or whoever it happens to be. But it's valid.
Okay, great. Thank you for that question. So, simple question, is there just simply one power of attorney, one word, or you can have both the healthcare and property enrolled in one rather than having two distinct powers of attorneys or durable powers of attorney for property and healthcare?
Not in Illinois. You can't choose to roll them into one because they have different execution requirements, who witnesses, who signs, who notarizes. They're distinct. And so you can't merge them into one document. But understand, you can name the exact same people in both documents. It's not like you have to pick two people. You can one person, but fill them in on both of the documents. So in effect, you can have one person running everything if that's what you want.
Okay. So let's talk for many of you may know this, but let's just clarify, what is the difference between Medicaid and Medicare when it comes to long-term care coverage? And I think this is where, sometimes your loved one gets in the hospital and you realizes there's so much terminology and jargon that you may have understood it, but there's so much. What is the difference and when would it come into play for long-term care coverage?
Boy, you are not kidding. This is an area that is so easily confused. Not because anybody's not smart, because the names are so similar and they do similar things, but there's a huge difference. Okay, so Medicare is a system of health insurance that, presuming you qualify for other reasons, your citizenship or your status and all those sorts of things, assuming you're entitled to care. That's something generally we all get when we become a certain age. So that's an entitlement regardless of your wealth. So if you have no money or if you have, Bill Gates level money, you still get Medicare and you pay for it monthly. There's still a premium. That's Medicare. Medicaid, on the other hand, is a needs-based system. Most of us don't use it because it's based on poverty, right? So that you don't have enough money. So they operate in the same sphere, but they don't cover people the same way. And in the terms of long-term care, which is what we're talking about here, they're very different. Because if you come from a hospital and you need rehabilitative care in a nursing home, you will get 100 days maximum. You might get less because maybe you'll get better sooner, which we all hope, but you'll max get 100 days out of that. After that, the Medicare will not fund that further, absent exceptional circumstances. Medicaid, however, does, but you have to be at the level of need where they will pick it up. Otherwise, the requirement is you privately pay for your nursing home care. And that's something that a lot of people want to explore is what strategies are there so that I don't have to use up all of my private money, the money I saved all my life, money my spouse and I saved all our lives for my care. Is there ways to do that and qualify for Medicaid? And the answer is yes, there are some. But in understanding the difference between Medicare and Medicaid, because it's so easily confused because the names are almost the same, Medicare is your typical insurance. Medicaid is the one that handles long-term care, but only if your income is low enough and assets are low enough.
Okay, so we talk about this a lot, but I always think this is important because maybe for some people, they didn't even realize this was a rule, but it is a conversation. When to find out if your loved one is eligible for Medicaid, what is this 5-year look back that we hear, this period we hear about? What is it and how and when does it apply?
Yep. So this is also, these are great questions, by the way. It is important to remember that to qualify for Medicaid, like I said a couple of times, you have to have low enough income and assets, right? So back in the day, this is back 50, 60, 70 years ago when the system, got started, people would go, okay, I can't have more than $10,000. Fine, I'll give $100,000 away to my kids. I'll just give it away. And at the very beginning, for about 15 minutes, that worked until the federal government realized that that's not a good plan. So you can't do that anymore. You can't just give away money. You can spend your money as you need or as you want, but you can't give it away for nothing. So that's where this look back period comes into play. And what that means is that for a period of time, starting the day you apply for Medicaid, the federal government and the state government, it's a joint program, will look back at all of your transactions, all of your bank accounts, all of your assets, and see whether or not you have given away money. And that look back period right now, it has changed over the years, but is 5 years. So they're going to ask you, quite literally, for all your bank accounts, all your asset information, your statements, your everything for the last 5 years. And they're going to look at it. And if they find out that you have given away substantial sums for no money, no compensation, they will penalize you, and they will say for the amount of time you could have lived on the money you gave away, we won't cover. So if you gave away $30,000 and the cost of a nursing home was $10,000 a month, they will say for the first 3 months, 10 times 3, $30,000, we won't cover you. So it's very dangerous for people to just give away money. Now, like we said, there's a 5-year limit. So if you have enough money that you can live for 5 years without any nursing home benefit, any Medicaid benefit, well, I guess you could still give away. Like if you had billions of dollars, if you were very, very wealthy, if you could give them away 5 years and 1 month before you need care, of course, we never know when we need care, and keep enough to live for that period of time privately, you could theoretically do it, but that is not the plan for most people. And quite frankly, if you have $1 billion, you don't need to be listening to this.
You got your plan in place, I would imagine. Charitable donations, I would hope. So we have a question from YouTube. In the state of Arizona, how would one request financial conservatorship after my spouse is incapacitated, not able to communicate, and on hospice in long-term memory care?
So if you need a conservatorship, which is probably what they call it in Arizona, state was, in call it a guardianship. They're fundamentally the same thing. A court-appointed process for naming someone. Make it can't anymore. Now, if you hear some similarity in what I just said, that sounds like a power of attorney, doesn't it? And in fact, it is. However, maybe you didn't have one. Maybe the person didn't prepare one. Then you'd need to go to that conservatorship or guardianship. Or perhaps someone is refusing to honor the power of attorney, like the very first question we got. If that's the case, now again, I'm going to urge you to go see an attorney because maybe they can get that resolved. But let's say they can't, just the nursing home will not accept your power of attorney. Then a guardianship or a conservatorship is the next step. And you can do that at any point where the person is no longer capable of making decisions. So that means that you could, or they go into the nursing home, you could do it while they're entering, you could even do it after if they decline. Maybe they went in, they were okay, but it didn't last that long. It's always available to you. Now, there are standards that have to be met because the court's job is to make sure they're not handing out guardianships or conservatorships when people don't actually need them. But it's an available tool in your toolbox should you need that. I hope that answered the question. If it doesn't, the person who posted it, please post another. I'll try it.
Sorry, my dog is barking. She decided to join the conversation. YouTube, does long-term care insurance cover home health care services?
Depends on the policy. Typically not. Typically it only covers in-term nursing home care. But every policy is different, so you need to read it, and you need to have maybe an attorney read it or a financial planner, but I'd recommend an attorney in that case because you're looking at a specific legal language. It's not impossible. Sometimes they will do that. Long-term care has evolved over the last 30 years, where it was very simple back in the day, but people recognize, and I think even insurance companies recognize that it's far cheaper sometimes to keep someone in their home than to put them in a nursing home. So if we can find a way to provide good quality of care in the home, that's better for everyone, and it's cheaper. So look at.
YouTube, does the creation of a trust fall into the 5-year look back category?
Great question. And I'm loving all these YouTube questions. Keep them coming. Somebody should ask me how dining at an Italian restaurant can help your Medicaid planning. Seriously, somebody should ask me that. But to the question of the trust. So trusts are complicated, but your typical trust, the one that you might make that people recommend for retirement, will not affect your eligibility either positively or negatively. They will simply consider your that trust as an available asset. They'll treat it the same as anything else. The only time that that changes is if you create an irrevocable trust that you have no access to. If that's the case, and that would be very rare because normally you wouldn't want to just completely give up your access to your money, even if it's a trust. But if that were to occur, yeah, they won't consider it for Medicaid because you've lost control over it. It's effectively kind of not your money anymore. But they will apply the penalty period because you've given that money away to that trust for no compensation. You didn't get anything back for it. So be careful, because if you do even that kind of a trust within the 5-year look-back period, you have the same problem. You have the same issue. If you did it more than 5 years, no. Then, like I said, if you can last without that money for 5 years or more, in theory, you could do it. But that would be rare. But it does have an impact.
Another great question. Does long-term care cover assisted living?
Yes. I mean, you're talking about the level. And so sometimes somebody with full nursing home needs, but there are levels of care. If you're talking about, though, a level like just above living in a retirement home, typically not. But if we're talking about an advanced level of care, but where you don't meet all the criterion for truly nursing home care, and what I mean by that are we call them activities of daily living. There's 5. There are things like being able to toilet yourself, dress yourself, feed yourself, things like that. You don't have to meet all 5. You can meet 3 typically and qualify. In other words, you can't do 3, and you will qualify for your long-term care insurance coverage, and you will qualify for Medicaid.
Okay. We're going to keep going. If you guys have questions, we're going to keep going along. We got about 7 minutes left. So what should families know about residents' rights when entering a nursing home or assisted living facility? And we're just going to say in Illinois, but in general, what should someone know about their rights?
Yeah, that's important. The first thing I would suggest is understand you have a right to a designated person who can pretty much come and see you anytime, anywhere. Sometimes nursing homes will try to impose like visiting hours, and that might be valid for, your uncle, your aunt, your niece, your nephew. But if you designate someone as your primary caregiver, if you will, that person has a right to come in there all the time. And that's very important. And I would encourage you to have that person do exactly that. Because nursing homes, some are great, but not all of them are great. And sometimes they pay attention to the squeaky wheel only. So if you have a person in a nursing home nobody ever visits, which is sad, in its own circumstance, it also means the nursing home knows that. And they know that if there's a choice between the squeaky wheel that's going to cause them a problem and the person who doesn't ever cause any problems, even though maybe they aren't getting the best service, they're going to address the squeaky wheel first. So I encourage you to have an advocate, somebody on the outside who will do that for you. There are lots of rights depending on your state. One of the things that Lori and I have been working on in Illinois is the right to leave, to go for a walk, go visit your family, things like that, because there have been cases in Illinois, particularly during COVID, but still, where that has not been honored, where they say you can't or you have to get permission from them. And those are problems. So every state will have different rules and requirements. The nursing home, regardless of state, should give you a disclosure of those rights. Typically, it'll be in the big pile of documents that you sign when you go in. Look for it. Go back, keep those documents, number 1. But number 2, look for those documents and reread them and make sure you understand. And if you have questions or a nursing home gives you resistance on something you think you ought to be able to do, go talk to an attorney, go talk to your attorney general's office, maybe your state's attorney, depending on how your state is set up. Go see those advocates. Talk to AARP. Now, they can't give you legal advice, but they can point you in the right direction. They can give you some great ideas. So use those resources, but you have a number of rights.
Absolutely. So this is a tough one, but what legal steps should someone take if they suspect neglect or unsafe conditions in a long-term care facility?
Yeah, that is a tough one. And I wish that I could say it doesn't happen, but it does. So number one, talk to an attorney for yourself, so that you have the best education you can on it. But then you're going to want to go to the state agencies that administer the Medicaid program. In Illinois, it's IDPH, and Department of Healthcare Services also has an involvement, but I think IDPH is probably the right place to go, Illinois Department of Public Health. If not them, go to your attorney general in Illinois. Again, that circumstance could be different in different states. And even maybe as the first step, go to your local police department. Go talk to them because they're local, right? They're a little more on the ground for you. They're part of your community. Don't be afraid of them. Go talk to them and say, this is what I'm worried about. I'm worried about my mom, and I think she's being exploited or abused. And that can happen anywhere. That can happen in a nursing home. It could also happen with assisted living. It can happen in the home, unfortunately. If they have a caregiver, those things happen. So if nothing else, go to your police department, but all of those sources are good.
Excellent. There's a follow-up question on YouTube. Just to be clear, a regular trust is counted in your asset column by Medicaid. Yes or no?
Yes. I love when I actually answer a question, yes or no. Yes, it is counted, a regular trust.
Okay. Another question from Facebook. If someone dies after receiving long-term care benefits for a couple of months, would you be entitled to a refund based on how many years you were enrolled?
If I understand the question, you're saying long-term care benefits.
Mm-hmm.
So when the person passes away, not from Medicare, not from Medicare, in Social Security, typically you actually owe a month back because they pay in advance. So the last month of life, usually they're asking for the refund, not the other way around. If you're talking about a long-term care insurance policy, typically not, but there might be a provision like that in a unique policy where they will say if you never used it or you used it a very little, maybe there's a death benefit there that might be a part of a combined policy. It's not impossible that could occur. So again, you should look. And last thing is spousal benefits, and under Social Security, you could very well be entitled to a spousal share for your Social Security benefits, even if you're receiving your own, independent of the other. You might want to compare because it might be better depending.
Okay, well, very good. We are coming on to 1 minute left. We want to thank everyone for joining us today for this conversation. Steve, can you leave us with any good peace of mind as we close out for today?
So I'm going to leave you. Nobody asked me my question about eating.
Oh, why do we go to Italian benefit? And why was it beneficial?
So why it's beneficial, and I'm not joking, this is important to understand. When you're looking at long-term care in the near future, one thing you can do is you can spend down your assets. You can't give them away, but you can spend them down, which means most people are like, oh, I have to be so careful with my money, I'm going to run out of money. Well, kind of the goal with Medicaid is to run out of money. Mm-hmm. So if you're spending down to some level, you can spend it on anything you want as long as you're getting the benefit. Yeah. So if you that fancy Italian restaurant, the really that you only go once a year to, go every week now.
Enjoy it.
Because it's legit. Or if you want to buy that big screen TV for the nursing home that you always wanted but never were willing to spend on yourself, go ahead and do it. These are legitimate expenditures. So that's what I want to leave you with.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much, Steve, for joining us today. And it will be okay, as you always tell us. Today's question should help you explore the various elements of long-term care and planning if you're a caregiver or a spouse, or you're just doing it yourself. We're glad you could be with us. Just heartfelt gratitude for Steve Andersson. We've done this every month for this year in 2025, and I believe we've made a great difference. And thank you all for joining us, being part of this wonderful narrative, and asking your great questions and comments. We thank you very much, and have a